there, thanks for staying with me. My name is Steve, and today we're looking at public speaking nightmares and how to overcome them. Oh, this is going to be a really good one. You're going to enjoy it because we've all been there, haven't we? Dale Carnegie, what a great quote this is. There are always 3 speeches for every one you actually gave. The one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you gave. How true is that? You're saying nightmares? What nightmares? There is a monster in the room because public speaking is fraught with difficulty. You can trip up here, trip up there, use a wrong word, upset somebody by saying something that's very unwise, being insensitive, whatever it is. There are nightmares in the room. Whether you're in business or an organisation, a church or society, or even in your private life, it's likely that you will have delivered a speech or presentation, right? So how did it go? Did you encounter any of the following while delivering it? Wait for it. You ready? You found it hard to get eye contact with your audience. More about that in a later video. You stumbled over your words and failed to get your point across. Does that ring any bells? You had physical symptoms of nervousness, sweaty hands, butterflies in the stomach, dry mouth. Yeah, I've been there. I know all about that. How about you? You were frustrated that your presentation did not do justice to the subject matter of your speech. Yes, I've been there too. Tick another box. You felt so conscious of the response of your audience that you missed some crucial elements of what you wanted to say. It's getting very worrying. I can tick that box as well. You were unable to give a dynamic, stirring speech because you were glued to your notes. Okay, I don't need to tick that box because I don't have a style of reading out notes. It's one of my top blunders, as you well know. 7. You felt so self-conscious that you were glad when it was all over. I've kind of been there. Maybe you have. You could not get eye contact with your audience because you found it intimidating. Don't think I've been there either. I've been quite fortunate in that. 9. You lost your chain of thought and were unable to get your thoughts together to complete your speech successfully. Okay, I think I've almost been there a few times, but fortunately, mostly, I've been able to get through relatively unscathed. If you've experienced any of these things when giving a public speech or presentation, join the club. There you go. I've admitted a lot of those things I've struggled with myself. We're all normal human beings, but there are some misconceptions about speech anxiety. Myth number 1. Everyone will know if you suffer from speech anxiety. Will they? Everyone will know? What, in the audience you mean, looking at me, they'll know that I am very, very worried and anxious. Well, possibly, but the reality is few, if any, will notice. So keep the secret to yourself and be confident. Myth number 2. Speech anxiety will intensify the longer you are at the front. Is that really true? Now, I've been at the front tens of thousands of times in settings so different all over the world. Has that been my experience? It's something that is a myth, actually, I believe, because it's all up to you. Mostly, a well-prepared speaker will relax as the speech progresses. Myth number 3. Speech anxiety will ruin the effect of the speech that you're giving. Is that really true? It's something that is seems to be a well-known fear among a lot of people. Is it true? The reality is, on the contrary, speech anxiety may improve a speaker's effectiveness. You get that kind of cutting edge, a little bit of nerves before the speech, before you go on stage, a little bit of nerves there, keeps you on the ball. Yeah, I think that's true. Myth number 4. The audience is naturally hostile and will obviously be critical of my speech. Well, again, fortunately, I don't think I've ever been in that position. I've occasionally been in situations where I've had someone in the audience jump up and butt in and ask a question or say something completely unexpected, and I've had to deal with it, which is another reason why we should not read a script from the front. As we've said, any unexpected questions coming in from the floor and you're grounded. But I don't ever think I've found a really hostile audience, because normally if you're public speaking, you'll have an invited audience, or you'll be invited as a speaker to go to an invited audience. The reality is most listeners are polite, especially when the speaker's trying to do well and providing a service to the listeners. So you better be polite to your listeners as well, and you better be someone that is providing service to the listeners. Don't ever get grumpy with an audience or a member of that audience who might say something awkward to you. Don't get irritated. Stay completely calm, unfazed. That will show your peaceful demeanour in answering questions calmly. And oh, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, if ever someone asks you a question you don't know the answer to, tell them. Be honest. I'm not sure of the answer to that, but I will find out. And if you give me your contact details, I'll get back to you with the answer. Okay, unfazed. Be calm. Myth number 5. There are people here who are far more qualified at giving this speech. Okay, I must admit I felt like that a lot of times in my career. And it's probably true. There are a lot of people out there that probably know more than I do. But the reality is that you have a unique offering to make, which will bring a new perspective and create more interest in your topic. You are unique. Your experience of life is unique. You bring all of those building blocks into the party when you are standing at the front. You bring all of that energy and experience right in. It's unique what you can give. It's totally unique. So you mustn't worry about experts sitting in front of you. You give something that's different, a new angle, a new perspective. Knowing the causes of speech anxiety is the first step in managing it. Poor preparation, inappropriate self-expectations, fear of evaluation, excessive self-focusing, a fear of the audience, not understanding our body's reactions. Now you might want to pause the video for a minute and go through those, how many are 6 there? 6 things? Go through them, make notes. Have you fallen into the trap of any of these? Because if you have, that certainly could be a trigger, any one of those, to speech anxiety. So make a few notes in your notebook and have a think about it and follow up anything that needs to be done on your part to address those issues. So there are some practical strategies for managing this nightmare. 1, be well prepared and practice your speech. Warm up first. Prepare an introduction that will relax you and your audience. Focus on unpacking the key point. Use visual aids wisely. I know there's a big debate of whether you should use a PowerPoint or no PowerPoint, or whatever is the equivalent on your particular system or laptop or computer. There's a big debate about it. I would use a PowerPoint in a way that's wise and creative, not too much so that you're hooked to the words on the screen. But visuals, simple, quick, easy visuals, just a few of them, like Steve Jobs used to do. That can be very powerful, but be very careful. Develop a positive mental attitude. And there are 6 quick and easy ways here of dealing with speech anxiety. 1, question the mind games. Think about the things that are buried in your mind that surface when you face a challenging situation. Negative thoughts can turn reality into fantasy by confusing the truth using distorted thought patterns. Challenge them and take back control. And I'm in danger of repeating myself here about the mind, but it's worth repeating. For me, the mind is the engine room of your life. It affects everything you think, do and say. So it's very, very powerful when we're attacked by negative thoughts. Second, focus by deep breathing. Before you go into a public space with your speech or presentation, a slow breathing exercise can slow your heart rate and calm you down. Breathe in a constant, slow rhythm. In for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. Take your time. Make sure your body posture is relaxed, arms by your side, standing straight, shoulders back. I run community choirs, and at the beginning of every choir we have a breathing exercise. I get them to stand with their body nice and straight, shoulders back, head up, and we do a breathing exercise very similar to the one that I've just described on here. We breathe in, we hold it for 5 seconds, and then we slowly breathe out. We do that a few times. That's a very good breathing exercise to do. When I travelled around the world, I did a lot of travelling in South America and often to Bolivia and Ecuador, where when you fly into the international airports, the altitude is quite high. And you can easily suffer from altitude sickness. So breathing exercises, long and slow and deep, are the thing to do if you might suffer from altitude sickness. And it's the same in every part of our life. When you take the dog for a walk, do some breathing exercises. It slows the heart rate and it keeps you calm. So what you need to do before you get onto that stage. Aromatherapy can help. Scents like lavender, chamomile and sandalwood can activate certain receptors in your brain, which will begin to alleviate anxiety. If it's practical, you could light a scented candle or use a handkerchief with a drop of scented oil on it. Be careful that you don't stick it on your eyes, because that would be the worst thing to do before you get on the stage. You've got a runny eye. Oh no, runny nose, runny eyes. Just be careful, all of that. But think through how you might practically take this on board. Go for a walk or do some physical exercise. If your mind is full of negative thoughts, sometimes a walk in the fresh air will be enough to drive those thoughts away and give you a new sense of perspective. That's why I find it so beneficial to have a dog. She's great. She's very active and she keeps me active too. Out 3 or 4 times a day, walking in the countryside, breathing in the fresh air. Physical exercise is brilliant when you have a stressful job. Make sure you get some in there. Fifthly, write down your thoughts. The simple exercise of writing down in a couple of short sentences or using single words describing what's making you anxious can help to drive those thoughts out of your head. Get them out. Speak them out. One of the things that we do in a church context with people who might be stressed or worried or confused about some of the heavy weights that we carry around in our lives, some of the guilt that some people have, is to speak it out in a kind of confession format or write it out on a piece of paper, and then in a little simple ceremony, a private ceremony, to burn the paper with those negative thoughts on and just get rid of them. Speak it out, deal with it. Writing down your thoughts when they're negative can be very healing, actually. Practice mindfulness. This is a longer term strategy if you suffer from any kind of anxiety. Having a daily routine when you spend time in a quiet place can train your mind to relax when faced with the next challenge. Mindfulness is very popular now in our culture and can be very, very helpful. So develop positive coping mechanisms. Instead of thinking, I'm no good, think, I have all the skills I need to make a great speech. Instead of thinking, nobody wants to hear me, think, people have come today to hear the unique things I have to say. Instead of thinking, this is going to be a complete and utter nightmare, think, I'm going to be me and I am good enough. I am going to be me and I am good enough. I'm not editing that out because I said it twice. No way. Say it 3 or 4 times. An important concept. Instead of thinking, I'm really scared, think, my irrational fears have no basis in reality. Okay? Right? Got it? Instead of thinking, I'm really going to mess things up today, think, even if things don't go exactly according to plan, it's not the end of the world. Absolutely right. It's true. Speech anxiety can cripple you. Don't allow it to. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, think, my presentation will not be perfect, but no one is perfect. Even my heroes make mistakes. That's absolutely true. Instead of thinking, they won't like my speech, think, I can't please everybody all the time. Nobody can. Now, there are different types of public speakers, and you may recognize yourself in one of these descriptions. The avoider. They do everything possible to avoid facing an audience. In some cases, avoiders seek careers that do not involve making presentations. There's the resistor. Becomes fearful when asked to speak. This fear may be strong. Resistors may not love to speak in public, but they have no choice. When they speak, they do so with great reluctance. Is that you? What about the acceptor? Can do presentations, but is not that enthusiastic to do them. Acceptors occasionally give presentations and feel good about them. Occasionally, the presentations can be quite persuasive and satisfying. Bit of a middle ground there. Is that you? What about the seeker? Always looks for opportunities to speak. Seekers understand that anxiety can be a stimulant that fuels enthusiasm during a presentation. Seekers work hard at building their professional communication skills and self-confidence by speaking often. Are you that person? Now, in a later session, we'll be speaking about motivational speakers. And, of course, to be a motivational speaker, I think you probably need to be the seeker type of public speaker, because you'll need confidence when you get on that stage to motivate other people. But more of that later. In the next video, my top 14 strategies for the big event. I'll see you in the next video.